What you don't schedule, you don't value. It's as simple as that. Your calendar is not just a collection of dates and times. It is a mirror of what matters most to you. It is a sacred ledger that declares to the world, and more importantly, to yourself, this is who I am. This is what I'm building. And this is what I refuse to leave to chance. If it's important, schedule it. Because life, my friend, is not a matter of willpower. It is a matter of structure. You do not rise to the level of your potential. You fall to the level of your systems. And what is a schedule, if not the most personal, intentional system for directing the force of your life? Dreams are not rare. Discipline is. Everyone wants to be fit, but few schedule their workouts. Everyone wants to be wealthy, but few schedule time to study money. Everyone wants a deep relationship, but few schedule time to nurture it, to speak into it, to listen. If you don't make time for it, you're not serious about it, period. Your future is hidden in your daily routine, in the quiet, ordinary moments when no one is watching. It is not the loud ambition that determines your destiny. It is the silent appointments you keep with your own values. The morning you rise early, not because you had to, but because you chose to. The hour you blocked out to read, to think, to write, to create, not because someone paid you, but because your vision demanded it. The world is not waiting for another wishful thinker. It is waiting for someone with a plan. Someone who puts their purpose on the calendar and treats it like a meeting with God himself. Because that's what it is. Let me tell you something about high performers. They don't hope their priorities get done. They engineer it. They don't wait for the right moment. They make the moment right. They don't react to their day. They command it. They walk into their week like a general walks into battle, armed with clarity, focus, and a non-negotiable commitment to their mission. That's not hustle. That's honor. Because when you refuse to schedule your values, you're not living free. You're living scattered. Pulled in every direction by the noise of the world, by other people's urgencies, by every shiny distraction that screams for your attention. And what you lose is your life. No one drifts their way to greatness. No one stumbles into mastery. You don't build a cathedral by swinging a hammer once in a while. You build it by showing up again and again, brick by brick, day after day, with reverence, with focus, with a rhythm that declares to the universe, I will not let what is urgent crowd out what is essential. You want a better life? Don't wait for motivation, build infrastructure. Don't depend on your feelings, build a fortress of habits. Don't just declare what matters, protect it, prioritize it. Put it on paper. Give it a home on the calendar. And when that time comes, treat it like fire. Don't reschedule it. Don't compromise it. Don't let the trivial trespass on the territory of the meaningful. That's how the extraordinary are made. Not through inspiration, but through intentionality. Now let's talk about mindset, because all of it begins with a single shift. You must decide that your time is sacred, that your attention is currency, that your schedule is your sanctuary. Most people live like their minutes are infinite. They give away their hours like it costs them nothing. They say yes to everyone else and leave their own dreams starving on the altar of people pleasing. But you must live different. You must become fierce with your focus, ruthless with your yes, discerning with your energy. You must look at each day and say, these 24 hours are not just time, they are my life in miniature. I will not let them be devoured by the mediocre. You want a millionaire's life? Start by keeping a millionaire's schedule. And no, I don't mean filled with calls and chaos. I mean structured around essentials, built on deep work, focused on leverage, designed for growth, cultivated for alignment, scheduled for success. You must become the architect of your hours, the guardian of your time, the sculptor of your priorities. Because if you don't design your day, someone else will. And they'll do it with their agenda, their chaos, their emergency, not your purpose. The enemy of a powerful life is not failure, it is distraction. It is the slow death of potential at the hands of minor tasks. And what allows those tasks to run rampant? A blank calendar, an unguarded fortress, a life unclaimed. Schedule it if important. Schedule your health. Because without energy, your dreams die in silence. Your ambition collapses under fatigue. Your passion fades into burnout. Schedule your growth. Because you will never rise above your level of awareness. You don't get paid for your time. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. And value is developed through learning, through sharpening your mind like a blade. Schedule your relationships. Because love doesn't grow in the cracks of convenience. It blooms in the soil of presence, of intention, of time given freely, fully, without scrolling or multitasking. Schedule your solitude. Because without silence, you cannot hear your own voice. You cannot access clarity. You cannot remember why you started. Schedule your dreams. Not someday, not when I get time. Make time. Prioritize the vision that whispers in your heart. That book, that business, that bold idea, it will not build itself. Give it a sacred space. Protect it like treasure. Because if you don't, it dies. You see, the schedule is not just about productivity. It's about purpose. It's not about getting more done. It's about getting the right things done. It's about ordering your life around what matters, instead of letting the urgent choke out the important. That's where clarity lives. And clarity is power. The person who knows what they're building and carves time each day to build it, that person is unstoppable. They move through life with a rhythm that transcends motivation. They don't rely on discipline alone. They rely on design. If you can design it, you can live it. And it begins not with a vision board, but with a calendar. A calendar that says, here is my commitment, not just to others, to myself, to the life I said I would build, to the standard I refuse to lower. People talk about accountability like it's something external, a coach, a partner, a friend. But the highest level of accountability is the schedule you keep when no one is watching, when no one would know if you skipped it, when it's cold and you're tired and the bed is warm, but you rise anyway because you gave your word, not to the world, to your future self. And that word is law. So I ask you, what do you need to schedule? Not what's urgent, what's essential. What will die if you keep postponing it? What will never come alive if it doesn't get on the calendar? What dream has been sitting in the waiting room of your life, watching you prioritize everything but it? Because one day, the opportunity will vanish. One day, the time will run out. One day, your excuses will no longer have a tomorrow to hide in. You don't find the time, you make it. And you make it by carving it, naming it, placing it with intention into the one structure no one can argue with. The schedule. Schedule it if important. And if it's not worth scheduling, stop pretending it matters. Let your calendar become a canvas. Let it tell the story of a person who lived on purpose, who didn't just hope, who didn't just dream, but who showed up day after day, without applause, without perfect conditions, without waiting for permission. Because greatness doesn't shout, it whispers. In quiet hours blocked off with intention. In lonely mornings fueled by vision. In moments when no one believes in you but the calendar still holds your faith. That is how you speak life into your future. You schedule it. You schedule it because that's what builders do. And you're not just a wanderer. You're a builder, a creator, a force of clarity in a world addicted to confusion, a sculptor of time, hammering meaning into each block of your day. What does a builder do? A builder starts with a blueprint, not a fantasy, not a hope, a plan, a structure, a schedule. And listen, this is not about rigidity. This is not about robotic control. This is about alignment, precision, intention. This is about showing the universe you're serious. Because the universe does not respond to vague wishes. It responds to consistent action wrapped in clarity. How do you know something matters? You give it time. You give it space. You guard it like treasure. You don't let it get buried under notifications, emails, or someone else's drama. You protect it like you'd protect a fire in a storm. Because it is fire. Your schedule is a furnace. What you put in it, you ignite. What you neglect, you extinguish. What you prioritize, you breathe life into. So why are we still waiting for the perfect time? The perfect time never comes. The perfect time is a myth sold to the masses to keep them passive, to keep them obedient, to keep them busy, but not effective. Successful people don't wait for time, they claim it. They look at a blank week and say, "This is my kingdom. These are my hours. I will use them like a weapon. I will build something that lasts long after I'm gone." You want to raise your standards? Raise your schedule. You want to stop procrastinating? Start planning. Give that task a home on the calendar. Make it real. Make it physical. Commit to it in ink, not just in your mind. Because your mind is a battlefield. And if your goals don't have a place to live, they will die in the chaos of distraction. Your calendar is not a cage. It is a key. It doesn't confine your freedom. It creates it. Freedom is not doing whatever you want whenever you feel like it. That's impulse. That's chaos. That's drifting. Freedom is knowing what matters, making space for it, and protecting that space like your life depends on it, because it does. You want to find yourself? Don't take a sabbatical. Don't buy another journal. Don't fly across the world looking for meaning. Look at your schedule. Your future self is hiding in there. In the 5 a.m. wake-up you keep snoozing. In the book draft you haven't opened. In the business you haven't built. In the deep conversation you haven't scheduled with your child, your spouse, your mentor, your soul. You keep saying these things matter, but your schedule is calling you a liar. And it's time to reconcile that. Because if you can master your calendar, you can master your life. The greatest transformations don't begin with massive changes. They begin with time blocks, with sacred appointments, with the simple act of saying, from 7 to 9, I'm unavailable, I'm building, I'm studying, I'm becoming. That's how champions are made. They don't sprint into chaos, hoping to find greatness. They walk into structure with a torch in their hand, because they understand this truth. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it is the engine of it. And scheduling? Scheduling is where discipline meets design. It is the difference between chaos and momentum, between reaction and creation, between regret and reward. And no one escapes this truth. You're either the designer of your day or the slave to someone else's. And here's the part no one talks about. Your dream life will not feel dreamy. It will feel scheduled. It will feel structured. It will feel, at times, like repetition, like rhythm, like rituals done in silence. But that's what mastery is. Mastery is not sexy. It is sacred. It is not chaotic. It is composed. And it is never random. It is scheduled. Ask the writer how the book got written. Ask the CEO how the company was built. Ask the athlete how the record was broken. Ask the father how the legacy was formed. The answer will always come back to this. They made time. They scheduled it. And they honored that schedule like it was law. They showed up when it was boring, when it was painful, when no one clapped, when the world offered excuses. They said no to the noise and yes to the plan, not because it was easy, but because it was right. And now it's your turn. Stop romanticizing potential. Stop making vision boards with no appointments attached. Stop calling yourself ambitious if your calendar doesn't reflect it. Start showing up like your life depends on it, because it does. Every minute is a seed. Every hour, a shovel. Every scheduled block, a declaration of war against the average. This is your battlefield. This is your cathedral. This is your life. So choose wisely, protect fiercely, and above all, schedule it, if important. The clock is not your enemy. It is your invitation. Every tick, a reminder. You are the author of this hour, and what you do with it is what you become. We live in a world that glorifies busy and forgets to honor effective, a world drowning in tasks, yet starving for intention. And while most people chase urgency like a dog chasing cars, the rare few, the legends, the architects, the builders, they create urgency on purpose. They turn time into territory and claim it. Do you want to know who will win? It's not the one with the most talent. It's the one with the clearest structure. It's the one who turned their goals into blocks of sacred time and guarded those blocks like a fortress, like they were holding back an army of distractions trying to breach the gates. It's the one who said, I don't need another vision, I need a system. And what is a schedule but a system for self-respect? You don't rise to the level of your inspiration. You rise to the level of your routines. And routines are nothing but scheduled repetitions of what matters most. Ask yourself right now brutally, does your calendar reflect your convictions? Does it prove your priorities? Or does it reveal your avoidance? Because your schedule doesn't lie. If you say family is important, but they're nowhere on your calendar, your schedule's telling the truth. If you say growth matters, but you don't block time to read, to learn, to think, your schedule is calling you out. If you say health is a value, but it lives in the land of maybe and someday, then what you've built is not a life, it's a performance. And performances crumble. But principles are planted in hours, in choices, in disciplined time. You think the greats got lucky? No, they got organized. They didn't leave it to chance. They didn't hope for flow. They created the flow through routine, through discipline, through a daily fight to protect the sacred from the seductive, because every day you will be seduced by urgency, by noise, by the temptation to trade what's vital for what's visible. But you must be different. You must become a guardian of your future, the protector of your purpose, and the keeper of your time. Because if you don't fight for your schedule, no one else will. Every email, every request, every obligation will come knocking like a thief in the night, asking for just 5 minutes, and they'll steal your destiny, one small compromise at a time. You don't need to be busy. You need to be booked with yourself, booked with focus, booked with purpose, booked with vision and action and recovery and rituals that sculpt the life no one else sees until they do. This is not a suggestion. This is the price of excellence. And when you start living like that, when you begin to see your schedule as sacred, you will see everything shift. Because the truth is, most people don't hate discipline. They just never learned to fall in love with alignment. They never felt the peace of knowing exactly what matters and seeing it written on their day. They never tasted the power of showing up for themselves so consistently, so relentlessly, that their word becomes a force of nature. That's what happens when you keep your appointments with destiny. Not one day, not someday, but today, over and over. You are not waiting for life to begin. Life is waiting for you to begin showing up for what you said mattered. There is no such thing as a chaotic life with a focused schedule. Your calendar reveals your commitment. And commitment is not a mood, it's a muscle, built through repetition, built through showing up, built through the habit of saying, this matters, and proving it, not with words, but with time. So what do you want? No, really, what do you really want? And is it on your calendar? If not, it's not real. You see, a goal without a schedule is a fantasy, a hope, a wish, whispered into the void. But a goal with a schedule, that's a covenant. That's an agreement with your future. That's your soul signing a contract with greatness. And here's the beauty. Once it's scheduled, you don't negotiate with it. You don't ask yourself, do I feel like it? You don't look outside for motivation. You just do the work because the work is sacred. And your time is a temple. You begin to respect yourself, not in theory, in practice. And over time, your confidence grows not because you accomplished everything, but because you showed up for the life you said you'd build. Every day you live out of alignment, you train yourself not to trust you. Every day you honor your schedule, you rebuild that trust. And that trust, that is the foundation of every success, every relationship, every breakthrough. Every ounce of momentum you've ever dreamed of is built on that foundation. So don't treat your calendar like a to-do list. Treat it like a contract with your highest self, a contract with your future legacy. a contract with the life you are done postponing. You want clarity? Schedule it. You want freedom? Schedule it. You want change? Schedule it. Because what you don't schedule, you don't respect. And what you don't respect, you will never create. So look at your calendar not with guilt, but with courage. Ask yourself, what does this say about who I am becoming? And then, with unwavering boldness, block off time for what matters most. Hold it sacred. Guard it fiercely. Live it fully. Because time is not something you manage. It is something you honor. So schedule it, if important, and live like your life depends on it, because it does. And if you think scheduling is just about getting things done, you're missing the miracle. It's not about check boxes. It's not about fitting more into your day. It's about reclaiming your soul from the jaws of distraction. It's about remembering who you are before the world told you what to want. It's about carving out space for the real you to breathe, to create, to move, to build. Every hour you schedule with intention is an act of rebellion against mediocrity. Every moment you guard from distraction is a declaration of war against the noise. And every habit you embed into the framework of your days is a brick in the cathedral of your character. Because who you become is not shaped by what you dream about, it's shaped by what you make time for. We don't drift into excellence. We don't stumble into greatness. We schedule it, we engineer it, we anchor it into the rhythm of our lives like a heartbeat that never misses a beat. That's how momentum is built, not in bursts of effort, but in the flow of consistency. You want magic? Build a routine that is so aligned with your vision that it feels like the universe is conspiring in your favor. Because it is. When you start living with that kind of clarity, when your schedule becomes a living, breathing representation of your priorities, you begin to radiate a different energy. People feel it. Opportunities recognize it. Doors open, not because you waited, but because you prepared. Success is not a lightning strike. It is a sunrise. Predictable, peaceful, powerful. The result of showing up again and again when it's dark until the light comes. And it always comes, but only to those who schedule their time like it matters. Let's be clear. A schedule is not punishment, it's permission. Permission to stop living at the mercy of other people's chaos. Permission to stop outsourcing your purpose to chance. Permission to finally become the person you know you were meant to be. Because buried beneath the excuses and delays is a power that's been waiting for structure to unlock it. You don't need another motivational video. You need a decision. You need to look at your life, your dreams, your values, and translate them into time. Concrete, scheduled, non-negotiable. Because without that structure, passion rots into potential. And nothing is more painful than potential unexpressed. So take inventory. What do you say matters? Now check your calendar. Do the two match? If not, start today. Block off 1 hour. Just one. Not to react, not to scroll, not to survive, but to build. 1 hour for your health. 1 hour for your growth. 1 hour for your mission. Then protect it, defend it. Fight for it like your life depends on it, because it does. That 1 hour is not just time, it is identity. It is proof. Proof to yourself that you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of your life. And when your schedule becomes a reflection of your soul, you won't need to chase success. You'll become it. Because success is not something you pursue. It's something you align with. And alignment lives in the calendar. So write it down. Make it real. Make it matter. And let the world adjust to the rhythm of your clarity. Schedule it if important. Not someday. Not next week. Now. Because later is the most dangerous lie you will ever believe. Later is the thief that steals your calling in broad daylight. Later is the lullaby that rocks potential to sleep and buries it in the graveyard of intentions. Later is the language of the undisciplined, the distracted, and the defeated. But not you. You are not built for delay. You are not crafted for compromise. You are made for movement, for precision, for power that flows through rhythm, not chaos. And that rhythm begins the moment you stop hoping and start honoring. You see, the most powerful people in the world don't have more time. They have more truth. They've faced it, owned it, scheduled it. And now it's your turn. If you want peace, you must schedule it. If you want passion, you must protect it. If you want purpose, you must prepare for it. Don't let this culture of busy seduce you into thinking motion equals meaning. The world is full of movement going nowhere. It's full of people exhausted from chasing everything except their real reason for breathing. That's why your schedule must become a sanctuary, a place where only the essential is allowed, where noise is turned into signal, where the scattered becomes sacred. Because when you design your day with discipline, your life begins to reflect destiny. Let me be blunt. If it doesn't get on the calendar, it doesn't get done. That idea? Schedule it. That workout? Schedule it. That call to your parents, that time with your child, that deep thinking time, that spiritual renewal, that hour of writing, schedule it. Or lose it. Because your life is not made in the big moments, it's made in the quiet repetitions. The daily disciplines no one applauds, the consistent blocks of time no one sees but that shape everything you will one day become. So, what will you allow? What will you say yes to, not with your lips, but with your hours? What you give your time to, you give your life to. And here's the secret. When you align your schedule with your soul, burnout disappears. Resentment vanishes. Regret dissolves. Because you're no longer betraying yourself for convenience. You're no longer deferring your destiny for comfort. You're no longer renting your time to the trivial. You've become the owner, the leader, the sovereign of your space. And in that space, you become dangerous to mediocrity, to complacency, to the old version of you who kept making excuses. Because now, you don't need permission. You've already scheduled it. You don't need applause. You've already committed. You don't need to explain yourself. You've already become the person whose calendar proves the priority. So stop waiting for life to slow down. It won't. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. Stop hoping things will get easier. They won't. You don't need easy. You need alignment. You need rhythm, flow, structure, a system you can lean on when motivation fails. And that system begins with your schedule. That is the gateway. That is the power. That is how you turn desire into destiny. And that is the path of the uncommon. The world will never understand it. They'll say you're obsessed. They'll call you rigid. They'll say you're too intense. Let them talk. Because when the results show up, when the compound interest of consistency pays off, when the life you scheduled becomes the life they envy, they'll wish they had your discipline. But they can't borrow your schedule. They must build their own, just like you did. And it starts now. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Not after the next excuse. Now, schedule it if important. Because what you schedule, you live. And what you don't dies waiting. So tell me, what have you done postponing? What dream has been waiting in the shadows of your distractions? What calling has been whispering from the corners of your calendar, asking, begging for just 1 hour of undivided attention? This is not about motivation anymore. This is about responsibility. You owe it to your future. You owe it to the people counting on you, even if they don't know it yet. You owe it to the part of you that still believes there's more strength, more depth, more impact, more fire. And you won't find that fire in the blur of a busy life. You'll find it in the boundaries, in the margin. In the mornings you rise before the noise begins to meet your thoughts before the world demands your attention. You'll find it in the evenings you shut down the world to protect your mind like a sanctuary, to remember your name, your purpose, your why. Because the highest form of self-respect is time management. When you live scattered, you send a signal to yourself, to others, to the universe that your priorities are negotiable, that your values are flexible, that your life is open to interruption. But when your time is guarded, your life becomes guided. Guided by vision, not reaction. By truth, not trend. By destiny, not distraction. And yes, there will be sacrifices. Yes, there will be discomfort. Yes, there will be days you'd rather coast. But every time you choose discipline over delay, structure over scattered, intention over impulse, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming. And over time, those votes compound. They build character. They shape destiny. They produce results so undeniable that your life begins to speak louder than your words ever could. This is the paradox of greatness. It is forged not in fireworks, but in a calendar. Not in the roar of applause, but in the quiet of repeated decisions. Not in the moment you're seen, but in the moments you're alone, honoring the hours that no one else values. That's the secret most miss. That's the reason the few rise. Because while the world is scrolling, you're building. While others are reacting, you're preparing. While the distracted drift from one thing to the next, you are locked in, focused, consistent, clear, not because it's easy, but because it's scheduled. And now the choice is yours. You can keep drifting and call it destiny. Or you can decide today, right now, that your time is too precious to waste, that your purpose is too sacred to delay, that your dream is too valuable to leave in the realm of someday. You can keep saying it matters, or you can prove it by writing it down, by blocking it off, by showing up, even when it's inconvenient, because your future isn't waiting on talent. It's waiting on time, and time doesn't beg to be used. It waits silently for you to claim it. So claim it. Lay hold of your day like it belongs to you, because it does. And from this day forward, let there be no more someday. Let there be structure. Let there be intention. Let there be hours carved in courage, blocks protected by conviction, mornings owned by mission. Let your schedule tell the story of a soul on fire. Let it reflect the relentless, unshakable commitment to your highest self. Let it be the proof that you didn't just dream, you decided. You didn't just hope, you showed up. And you didn't just talk about what was important, you scheduled it. Because once you start showing up like that, with that level of intention, that kind of clarity, everything changes. You stop hoping for transformation and start becoming the transformer. You stop chasing opportunity and start creating it. You stop looking for external validation because your own actions become your evidence. You'll walk differently, speak differently. Carry yourself with the quiet power of someone who knows exactly where they're going and exactly when they'll arrive. Not because you're faster, but because you're focused. Not because you're better, but because you're scheduled. Let the world be surprised by how calm you are in chaos, by how steady you are in storms, by how consistent you are when motivation disappears. Because you don't live by feeling, you live by rhythm, you live by design, you live by sacred hours stacked with intention until they form the life you once only dreamed of. And maybe it won't happen overnight. But what if it happens because you blocked off the time? What if it happens because you made space? What if the life you want has been waiting not for you to work harder, but for you to schedule smarter? This is not just productivity. This is presence. This is power. This is peace. Because nothing quiets the noise of life like knowing your time is under your command. And nothing commands more from the universe than a life lived in alignment. So if it's important, it doesn't go on a wish list. It goes on the calendar. If it's sacred, you don't squeeze it into the margins. You give it your best, your first, you're focused. And you defend that time like it is oxygen, because for your dream it is. 1 hour a day of true intention can rewrite the next 10 years of your life, but only if it's scheduled. So let this be your new code. I schedule what matters. I protect what's sacred. I live by design, not by default. I am not a victim of time. I am a master of it. I do not wait for clarity. I create it. I do not leave my legacy to chance. I carve it, 1 hour at a time. And I begin now, because now is the only time I own. Now is the doorway to everything I said I would be. Now is where purpose takes root and where greatness begins its rhythm. And all it takes is a decision to stop saying someday and start living scheduled. This is how empires are built. This is how legacies are born. This is how lives are transformed from chaos to clarity, from randomness to rhythm, from good to unstoppable. Schedule it if important. Schedule it if you're ready. Schedule it because everything depends on it.